Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Public Works for today, Wednesday, April 27th, 2016.
Commissioner Rodriguez, James, Repenning, and Assento are present. President James, we have a quorum. May we start with Bureau introductions, please, starting with Bureau of Street Lighting.
Good morning, Ruben Flamenco, Bureau of Street Lighting.
Good morning, Hector Banuelos, Bureau of Street Services.
Good morning, Daniel McKay, Bureau of Sanitation.
Good morning, Neil Drucker, Bureau of Engineering.
Good morning, Hannah Choi, Bureau of Contract Administration.
Good morning, Ted Jordan, Public Works General Counsel.
Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. President James, we did not receive any speaker cards under general public comment. However, we did receive a speaker card under item number 8 for today's agenda.
Okay, then we'll go ahead and close general public comment. And let's go ahead and take care of our assessment hearings. Agenda items 2 through 7, assessment hearings for the Bureau of Street Lighting for Council Districts 7, 12, 14, 5, and 11. Mr. Flamenco.
Ruben Flamenco, Bureau of Street Lighting. Items 2, 4, 5, and 6 pertain to lighting districts which we are creating in conjunction with private development projects. Items 3 and 7 pertain to lighting districts which we are creating in conjunction with Bureau of Street Lighting initiated LED conversion projects. Ballots for items 2 to 7 were mailed on March 17, 2016. Ballots must be received by the City Clerk's office by next Wednesday, May 4th. We have not received any objections to date on items 2 to 7. We are requesting for the board to adopt and forward items 2 to 7 forthwith to City Council.
Any questions on 2 through 7? With no objections on 2 through 7, is there a motion on those? By Commissioner Rodriguez. I'll second it. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda items 2 through 7. Agenda item number 1, the receipt of bids for the Central City East Adaptive Traffic Control System and ATSAC system. The estimate's $2,427,244 in Council Districts 1 and 14. Mr. Campos.
Thank you, Mr. President. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer, opening up the bids today for the Central City East Adaptive Traffic Control System. I was just reminded that I did not read the estimate amount, $2,427,244. This is in Council District 1 and 14. The first bid is from Crosstown Electrical and Data Incorporated for a total bid amount of $3,137,789 even. That's $3,137,789 from Crosstown Electrical and Data Incorporated. The second and final bid is from KDC Incorporated, doing business as Dyna Electric, for a total bid amount of $2,597,381 even. That's $2,597,381 from KDC Incorporated, doing business as Dyna Electric. President James, that concludes the bid opening.
Thank you. Is there a second to my motion that we receive the bids? By Commissioner Repenning. Any objection? Without objection, the bids will be received. And we'll receive those forthwith. Thank you, Mr. Campos. Agenda item number 8. Bureau of Contract Administration requesting the mayor authorize the board to execute personal services contracts between the city and a pre-qualified on-call community business outreach consultants list for various wage standards enforcement and implementation projects. I'll go through the list as it's set forth in the agenda. The Center for Living and Learning, Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights of LA, Community Partners for LA Black Worker Center, Cynthia M. Ruiz and Associates, Garment Worker Center, HR/Biz, BIZZ, Korean American Apparel Manufacturers Association, Korean Immigrant Workers Alliance with Clean Car Wash Campaign, Restaurant Opportunities Center, Thai Community Development Center, Wage Justice Center, and the Warehouse Worker Resource Center. Yvette. morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Commissioners and everyone else. My name is Yvette Medatian with the Bureau of Contract Administration, Office of Wage Standards. On January 22nd, 2016, your board authorized the BCA Director to advertise and issue an RFQ to provide community and business outreach services on a pre-qualified as-needed basis for various wage standards, enforcement, and implementation projects. The BCA Director was also authorized to negotiate a personal services contract with each of the selected consultant firms. Because the proposed contracts are as-needed services, the contracts do not yet have dollar value. The Bureau of Contract Administration will ensure that adequate funds are available to cover the costs for work on a specific project prior to requesting proposals from the firms. We advertised and went through the selection process. We received 13 statements of qualifications, and 12 were selected to be on the list. We believe we have a well-rounded list which covers diverse industries and geographic locations of the city. I will briefly summarize the list for you. Center for Living and Learning does their work in the San Fernando Valley, and they mainly work with transitional workers who come out of rehab, homelessness, and incarceration. Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights of LA, CHIRLA, they do their work in South LA and focus on low-wage immigrant workers. Cynthia M. Ruiz and Associates focuses on the greater LA area and works with employers. The Garment Worker Center does their work in downtown LA and South LA and works with the garment employees. HR Biz does work in the greater LA area, and they work with employers and also focus on grocery workers. Korean American Apparel Manufacturers Association, does work in downtown LA, and they work with the garment industry employers specifically. Korean Immigrants Workers Alliance, KIWA, with Clean Car Wash Campaign, they work in the greater LA area, and they are a multi-ethnic, multilingual, and multi-industry worker center. The Clean Car Wash Campaign mainly focuses on the car wash workers. The LA Black Worker Center with community partners, they work in South LA, and they work with low-wage Black workers, mainly in the construction industry. Restaurant Opportunity Center, ROC LA, works in the greater LA area and focuses on restaurant workers. The Thai Community Development Center does work in the greater LA area. They work with the Thai community low-wage workers. They also work with Chinese and Cambodian immigrants. The Wage Justice Center does work in the greater LA area, and they are lawyers specializing in wage theft. Warehouse Worker Resource Center works in the harbor area, and they focus on workers, warehouse workers, and truck drivers that do work at the port. As soon as your board adopts to execute the contracts and receives approval from the mayor's office, and we have a fully executed contract, we will issue task order solicitations to expand and add to the outreach efforts in this fiscal year. We have approximately $200,000, which will be distributed to the consultants on the list whose focus is on reaching the workforce as well as the business community. The workforce consultants will expand next year depending upon the adopted budget of 16-17. I want to take this opportunity to thank all of you for your support throughout this process, and this concludes my presentation, and I can answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Yvette, for the summary. We have one speaker card, so let's hear from our speaker colleagues, and then we will take any questions that you have for either the Bureau or for our speaker. Thank you. Cynthia Ruiz.
Good morning, President James, Honorable Commissioners and Bureau Representatives, and Executive Officer Campos. I am pleased to be here this morning in support of this item. I think it's so important that we get the word out to both workers and employers about the raise in the minimum wage. But what I'm really here this morning is because I'm here to compliment the staff of contract administration, from John Rima, Hannah, the whole team. I think they did a fabulous job in this whole process. They did the process with integrity. They really did their due diligence. They even contacted my references, and as you can imagine, I had some pretty high-level references, and they called them to make sure that they were legitimate. But it's so refreshing to see that the staff has worked so hard and they've just done a fabulous job. So I'm here to compliment the team of contract administration. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Ruiz. Any questions for Abed at the Bureau on the presentation of the summary? Commissioner Jacinto.
Thank you, President James. Thank you for the presentation. I also want to thank our Bureau of Contracts and Administration for this important, very important program that we're embarking on over the next few years. Because our city is so diverse, so many different languages, not only industries and everything, I just wanted to confirm that we feel that we have an appropriate representation, a mix of language capacity and outreach for different communities. I see some of the, that we have, a great lineup of the consultant pool that will help us do that. I wanted to make sure that we didn't have any major gaps in language capacity in any of throughout our city. Could you answer that, please?
Yes, we do have quite a diverse group, and one of our groups in particular, the Korean Immigrant Workers Alliance, KIWA, even though their name does say Korean American, they are truly a diverse organization, and they did assure us that they have the capability to assist us with any language needs that we're going to have.
Anything further? Thank you, Yvette. I would also mention, just because of my involvement in some of the early meetings, to supplement Ms. Ruiz's points, that I think she's here even, Elena Stern, thank you to the work that you did, along with the support from the mayor's office too, to bring this together. As Commissioner Jacinto said, this is one of the mayor's priorities, and it's the rollout and the implementation of the program is important. So it's obviously critical to get off to the right start. Is there a motion on agenda item number 8 by Commissioner Davis, seconded by Commissioner Jacinto? Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 8. Any problem sending number 8 forthwith? We'll send number 8 forthwith. Thank you. Agenda item number 9, Bureau of Sanitation, requesting the mayor authorize the board to execute a proposed memorandum of agreement between the City of Los Angeles and 9 public agencies regarding the administration and cost sharing for implementing the Coordinated Integrated Monitoring Plan for the Dominguez Channel Watershed Management Area. Vivian Marquez. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, President Kevin James and commissioners and the representatives of Public Works. I'm here to speak about the MOA that is before you. As background, I'd like to say that the Regional Water Quality Control Board adopted an NPDES permit for municipalities. It's called MS4. It's a long name, Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System NPDES permit, so we call it MS4 for short. This MS4 permit was issued in 2012, but it requires us, all 84 cities that are covered by this permit, to actually commit resources to comply, to write a coordinated, integrated monitoring program. And the city actually leads, out of the 84 cities, the city leads at least four watersheds, namely Baina Creek, Dominguez Channel, Upper LA River, and Santa Monica Bay. In this case, this board report addresses Dominguez Channel. There are new requirements, comprehensive requirements for monitoring, and this is new in this permit, and it will also be very expensive. It will cost exorbitant amount of money just to be able to comply with the MS4 permit. And because of that, every group of cities actually decided that they were going to cost share, and that was what this MOA is for it. This particular Dominguez Channel MOA is made up of 9 agencies. It's between the City of LA, 9 agencies, and the administrator of the MOA, which is the the Council of Governments for the South Bay cities. So they are administrating the MOA on behalf of all 9 agencies. Now, we have been asked as the leader to actually provide monitoring services on behalf of all those 9 cities. And because of that, we provide their services and we're reimbursed for the city, for the services that we provide. For the MOA is going to last for 3 years. It will expire in June of 2018. And for this year alone, we will be receiving $709,000, and the next year around that much, $714,000 if I'm not mistaken. And the last one would be $713,770 for the last fiscal year. So there is an urgency to this matter, as a lot of the cities have already earmarked funds to be able to give us our reimbursement, and we would like to push this through to the mayor's office as fast as we could so that we can invoice the cities who have the money to pay back in May. So there is that urgency I'd like to point out. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Marquez, for the summary regarding the cost sharing. Any questions on agenda item number 9? I don't have any questions. I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 9. Is there a second by Commissioner Repenning? Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 9. Any problem sending it forthwith so we can get this in time as the requested deadline stated in the board report? No objection there. We'll send it forthwith. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Let's go to supplemental 1. Actually, supplemental 13. This is continued from Friday to Monday to today. Bureau of Engineering recommending that the board authorize the city engineer to issue a task for solicitation number 28 to HDR Engineering Incorporated with a budget authority of $8,500,000, which includes contingency to provide design and program management support services in connection with the sidewalk repair program. Mr. Nelson. Mr. Nelson, before you start, it looks like we have some young folks that are here. Hey, everybody, are you here from a school or an organized group or? Oh, wonderful. Okay, great. Well, we're just about to talk about the sidewalk repair plan in the city of Los Angeles. So, welcome. Yes. At long last, we're underway. Mr. Nelson, go ahead.
Carl Nelson, Bureau of Engineering, Street and Stormwater Program. Yes, Commissioners, before you today is a request to authorize the city engineer to issue the task number 28 to HDR Engineering to provide support to the sidewalk repair program. The request is for $8.5 million of authority that would provide 3 years of program management, construction management, design, technology, services to the sidewalk repair program. The HDR was identified as the most responsive firm to our solicitation number 28. We did receive responses from 3 firms. Each firm's proposal was preliminarily scored, and then, since the scores were close enough, all 3 firms were interviewed, and HDR was found to be the most responsive after scoring from the interviews.
So a couple of questions. I'll start with Carl. One, what chronologically, where does this fall into the process of the sidewalk repair plan in general?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. The sidewalk repair program, it is a new program to the city. It was initiated just over a full year ago. And more recently, the City Council took action to establish a series of policies that would allow implementation of a more robust sidewalk repair program, including funding $31 million a year for program delivery, including developing processes that match the policies. And the Bureau of Engineering's staff does not have the full range of expertise necessary to deliver the processes associated with the policies, and more specifically in technology. Also, there is a component of the sidewalk repair program associated with the American Disabilities Act, and that the policy calls for an American with Disabilities Act coordinator to be utilized. And there is no current city classification for ADA coordinator. So we had to reach out to the private sector to provide staff augmentation, management expertise of a large program, ADA consulting, and technology development such that it will be robust enough to satisfy the expectations of our elected officials, matching the policy that has been presented through council. I believe it's approved by mayor, and it's calling for the sidewalk repair program to mobilize, develop, and deliver.
Okay, thank you, Carl. Commissioner Jacinto?
Thank you, President James. Carl, thank you for your report. Can you reiterate and state again the length of the TOS or the contract period? Is this multi-year, 8.5 million?
Thank you, Commissioner. Yes, the request before the board is to offer the task for 3 full years. 3 years. Let me make a note on that 3 years, too. We are asking at this time for authority to issue a notice to proceed in the amount of $700,000. And that $700,000 is mapped to finish the current fiscal year. The new funding in the mayor's budget would become available after July 1st, and at that time, staff will return to the board and request authority to issue a subsequent notice to proceed that matches the amount of funding in need for the next fiscal year. Then that cycle will be continued for the remaining 2 years, in that additional authority will be requested to offer the notice to proceed for the subsequent years matching the funding.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Carl, did you have an opportunity? I know that AFSCME appeared on Friday with some questions, and I had requested that the parties attempt to speak with one another. We continued it from Monday to today so that could happen. Were the parties able to get together, at least in conversation?
Thank you, Commissioner. Yes, in fact, the public speaker did have an opportunity to speak to staff following Friday's board meeting. And we agreed to have further correspondence, which we did by email, and then we offered to have a telephone conversation to better explain the needs of the task. And there has not been a further telephone call. And then, of course, here we are on Wednesday.
Okay. Anything further on this item? So we're getting through the remainder of the fiscal year, and we'll see you back in closer to the July 1st date for the second notice to proceed?
Yes, Commissioner. We will be back shortly.
Okay.
With a framework to suit delivery in fiscal 16-17.
Well, I'm sure if AFSCME has any concerns, they know how to reach us, so they'll be back if their concerns have not been alleviated. Thank you. Commissioner Jacinto's made a motion that we adopt Supplemental 13, seconded by Commissioner Rodriguez. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt Supplemental 13. Any problem sending it forthwith? We'll send it forthwith. Thank you, Carl. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Let's go back our regular agenda today. Let me find where we are, number 10. Bureau of Sanitation, recommending that the board authorize the director of the Bureau to issue a notice of award to Arcadis US, from the sanitation pre-qualified on-call consultant list for the wet weather design, storm, and per capita flow generation rate analysis in response to task order solicitation N49 with a budget total of $250,000. Rowena Lau, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, President James, honorable commissioners, and Bureau representatives. My name is Rowena Lau, and I'm from Bureau of Sanitation, Wastewater Engineering Services Division. One of our main core tasks in the division is to effectively and efficiently maintain the vast network in the wastewater collection system. And how we do that is we utilize a modeling software that allows us to perform critical planning, design, and operation decisions. In order to upkeep this modeling tool, it requires many small components that constantly need to be updated. And therefore, we have requested for a task order solicitation to perform the following 3 tasks. The first task is to develop a dynamic wet weather storm that we can apply into the model to better predict and perform strategic operations for wet weather events. The next task is to review and update per capita generation rates so that we can better predict for future flows in the system. And lastly is to revise the planning window that we use to perform planning and design criterias. And so in order to perform all these tasks, we have requested for a task order solicitation of a cost ceiling of $250,000 for a term of 24 months. So the review selection process that we went through is we advertised to 25 on-call firms, and we held a pre-proposal meeting in which 3 firms have attended, and we ultimately received 2 proposals. Of the 2 proposers, we ultimately selected Arcadis US Incorporated as the one that provides the best experience and value to the city. Arcadis has pledged 40.5% sub-consultant participation, of which 34.5% is WBE, 6% is SBE, and 6% is EBE. Therefore, we would like to request the board to authorize the notice to award to Arcadis US Incorporated. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions. First of all, regarding the third prime that appeared for the pre-bid meeting, in essence, Mars, I think it was. Do you know the reason that they, that they actually submitted an inquiry, but then they did not, actually they attended the pre-bid meeting, but they did not submit a proposal.
Yes.
Do you know the reason that they did not submit a proposal?
Well, we contacted them. They haven't responded to us, but the main reason is most likely because the design storm is a very specialized task, and not that many firms and sub-consultants have the ability to do a moving storm.
Okay, I expect that they'll likely respond to you. When they do respond to you, would you let me know by email?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Another question for you, Rowena, also. In the task order solicitation, there's a reference for the, under term of engagement, the cost ceiling for the TOS is $150,000, but the actual TOS that we're being asked to approve today is $250,000. Do you know the reason for the increase from the solicitation in October 2015 to the date today with the additional amount?
Well, the original $150,000 is specifically only for the 3 tasks, but it also includes some additional work in between, like if we require additional gauging, that will need to be provided by the consultant, and that would increase the total amount that's required. And so the total amount that's already within the scope of work has a very specific number, and when they go out into the field and discover that they need additional gauging, that extra money will cover the costs.
And so the extra money is just for the authority for that money?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions on agenda item number 10? Is there a motion on number 10? By Commissioner Repenning, seconded by Commissioner Jacinto. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 10. Any problem setting it forthwith? Send number 10 forthwith. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll look for that email on Mars. I think you're probably right, but I'd just like to know.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 11, Bureau of Sanitation recommending the board approval to forward a resolution to the City Council for approval with concurrence of the mayor to authorize the submittal of an application for any and all payment programs offered by the California Department of Resources, Recycling, and Recovery, it's Cal Recycle. Payments from Cal Recycle are deposited into Fund 556, Department 50, the account number 336203. Mr. Lee.
Good morning, President. Good morning, Commissioners, Bureau Representatives, City Attorney, and Executive Officer. It's my honor to be here. My name is Michael Lee to give you a little briefing about this payment program issued by Cal Recycle. LA San, Bureau of Sanitation has been receiving this money of approximately $1 million annually from Cal Recycle under the program, Beverage Container Recycling City County Payment Program, to be expended on new or existing programs related to beverage recycling program or litter reduction activities. Cal Recycle has appropriated about $10.5 million for this program to be distributed to cities and counties throughout California. And then on March 1st, 2016, they have revised their governing rule requiring all the applicants to submit a resolution approved by the governing body, which is council. So we sincerely request the board to approve and forward this resolution to council for approval.
Any questions at all on number 11? Have any questions? Is there a motion by Commissioner Rodriguez, seconded by Commissioner Repenning? Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 11. Any problem sending it forthwith? We'll send number 11 forthwith.
Thank you very much.
Agenda item number 12, an oral report on the 6th Street Viaduct update from the Bureau of Engineering. Ms. Allen.
Good morning. Julie Allen, Bureau of Engineering, 6th Street Viaduct Program, and with me today is Scott Bay, who will be helping me out with the presentation. You should have a hard copy that's being distributed to you that has a copy of the presentation, and I'll also have it showing on the TV display monitors as well. So I'm here today to give you an update. It's a quarterly report on the 6th Street Viaduct, and in usual Bureau of Engineering style, start with schedule and budget. So the first page is the overall budget of the 6th Street Viaduct project, and it's a total of $444.581 million, and it's broken down into the different project phases: project approval, design, right-of-way, construction, and again, the total is just over $444 million. Go ahead. The next project funding data is broken down by the source of funding. This project is primarily funded by federal grant funds. The Highway Bridge Program funding is in the amount of $383 million, with State Proposition 1B and other state funding in the amount of almost $30 million. And then we have local and state Measure R, Prop C, and Prop G, and finally other city funding. The City Council approved $23 million last year to supplement the project funding. The next is the project schedule. We're into about the second year, 4 months into the second year of construction. We began with the intersection improvements in January of 2015 and began demolition of the viaduct January of this year, a couple months ago. And we'll be following up with the construction of the foundations in June of this year, and the viaduct itself will begin in August this summer. So we'll be in full swing of all of the construction packages by the summer of this year. With the landscaping will be a remaining package that we're currently in design or pre-design phase, and we intend to have that start construction once there's enough room under the viaduct completed that we can start implementing some of the landscaping scope, with the intent to complete all of the construction of the bridge itself by the end of 2019. So now I'll go into a little bit of an update on the construction status. This first page is the right-of-way phase construction. We have it broken down into building demolition and utility relocations that are lettered packages. When they come to you for award, all of the lettered packages are advanced work through the right-of-way phase. So it basically clears the path of all of the buildings that are in the way and the utilities that are in the way. And we have completed Package A, which was the first package. We demolished 2 buildings and did utility relocation work. Package B, we had a notice to proceed this last July of 2015, and we have demolished 7 buildings, and there's 1 remaining, and the relocation of the BSS yard will also be constructed under this package. The next package is Package C. That should come before the board in the next month for award, and it includes 2 additional building demolitions and utility relocation work, and finally Packages D and E, which will come later this year in the summertime. So the photos that are shown there are demolition of a building under Parcel 14. This was Package B, and also demolition of buildings 1 through 4. This is adjacent to the bridge by our field office. Some of the construction challenges that we've had in relocating, demolishing these buildings and relocating utilities is we found some contaminated soil under one of the buildings that was not previously identified, and we're dealing with hauling this material off as a contaminated material, and we will be coming before the board because this will be a change order over $100,000. We're still analyzing the total quantity that we'll have available and determining the best path forward. And the other photo that I show there is a building that we're demolishing the left side of the building, where you can see the opening in the building, but not the right side. We only had to purchase one of the 2 buildings, but the owner that owned both buildings previously took liberties with the wall that was between the 2 buildings, and now it's not sustainable as an exterior wall. So we can't take down the left building until we rebuild the entire wall in between and make it up to code for an exterior wall for the building that is to remain. And then that kicked in several other upgrades. We have to upgrade the restrooms in his building, and we may have to do some roof repairs. And the wall happens to be on the city property, so we're going through a series of corrections to make sure that we can leave that building sustained and whole legally, so we can take down the building that we need to for the project. Okay. So the next phase of construction is what we call our construction project packages. These are all the numbered packages, so it's not the right-of-way, building demo, and utility relocation. It's the actual bridge. So the first package involves utility or intersection improvements, new traffic signals, and things to make the detour more effective, and that work is about 99% complete. We will be coming to the board for the closeout change order. We required an extra $60,000 in contingency to close out that package. The next one that's underway, and I'm going to go through some pictures of each of them, but just as a summary, the bridge demolition is about 25% complete. We started that in January of this year. The test pile is 100% complete, and the remaining 3 packages are still in design, and I'll get into a little more detail about the schedule. Okay, so the first one, just briefly, the intersection improvements, just a photo showing there. We have crosswalk striping and new traffic signals, as well as left turn lane street lights that were part of this package. The next one is the test pile that was conducted earlier this year. I described it in one of my previous briefings, but I wanted to show you a photo just for the sense of scale. The one on the left, you can see the rebar pile 170 feet in the air. There's a little teeny thing right next to it. That's a man on a man lift, just so you can see the sense of scale of how large this pile was and how big the crane was. And then the photo that's on the right is when they were putting concrete into the hole. The hole is actually filled with water. It's underground water. So to put concrete in it, they have a tube that goes all the way to the bottom. It's called a tremie, and they pour the concrete in the bottom, and the water rises up. So that's what you see there is the water that's floating on top of the concrete that they pump out of the hole as it gets constructed. Oh, I'm sorry. Could you go back one time? Just for an update on the test pile. The test pile was conducted so that we could determine the ultimate length of all the foundations in the bridge, and we were able to do the load test on the pile and determine that we could shorten the piles by 32 feet, all of them, across the board of the foundation package. So that saved the project about $750,000 for us to do that test and verify what the bearing capacity was of the soil. Okay, so the next package was the construction, or the demolition, I should say, of the existing viaduct. The first part was over the 101 freeway. We had a 40-hour closure, and you can see some photos of breaking through the edge girder there on the left. and what the concrete pier looked like before we took it down during that 40-hour weekend, which we finished 4 hours ahead of schedule and had no major issues that occurred during that weekend. As we continue on now, I mentioned we're 25% complete. We're moving east to west from the 101 freeway towards the west side of the viaduct. And just so you can see some of the challenges we have on the left side there, those are the bridge columns that are still standing. That building on the left, that remains during the demolition of this viaduct, along with all other ones that are on the south side of the bridge. So there's a screen that you can kind of see in the right photo. They had to install and mount along the side of the bridge, so as they're breaking the concrete apart, it doesn't land on the building and cause damage to the structures that remain. So it's very challenging work. It's a lot of creative engineering from the contractor and the city team to be able to make sure that we can do this safely without causing any problems. And then on the right, you can see a crane. There are two, I don't know what you call it, attachments to the crane that they actually have to cut the structure. The building is below. They cut the edge of the girder and carefully lift it up in a way so that it doesn't fall down as they dismantle the bridge next to the buildings. Okay. As we move forward, the next steps are going to be doing work over the railroads, which is going to be a challenge. We're working with the railroads very closely to coordinate the schedules of the outages and protecting the tracks. Next month, they're going to start doing the track protection, and they'll be doing actual bridge demolition within the railroad in June of this year. So that'll be a major milestone to get through the railroads. We have two sections of railroads. We have railroad, LA River, and then another section of railroad. So that's the process moving forward. That's just a photo yesterday on the right of the bridge columns that are still standing. They take them down after they do the rest of the demo work. Okay. And finally, we have the foundations package that we're expecting to begin construction June of this year, and followed by the viaduct construction package, which will start in August of this year. So that concludes my presentation with an update. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Commissioner Repenning.
Hi, Julie. Thank you for the presentation, and thank you for everything you guys are doing on this incredibly impressive and immense project. I just wanted to ask what we're hearing from the community in terms of impacts on traffic, on other impacts to the neighborhoods.
Sure. We have had some complaints about dust in the area, and we have had some complaints about vibration. So we've worked very closely with the contractor team and our outreach group to let people know in advance when we're going to be doing a closure of a certain street, so that they know well in advance so that they can plan ahead, and that part has gone well. And when we get any kind of dust complaints, we work with Bureau of Contract Administration, and they ensure that the contractor has sufficient water control to keep the dust down. And with vibration, we have monitors set up at various sensitive locations throughout the job site so that we can ensure that we're within limits of safe impacts to the community. So we're addressing complaints as they come up, trying to be as proactive as possible, and we're ensuring that we're meeting the community's concerns in advance and as they come up.
Okay, thank you.
Other than the dust and the vibration, Julie, any complaints about noise?
We had one on a building on the far left. It was one of the photos I showed, that we had two buildings that were butted together. We had to demo one, and it was basically bonded to the other one. And we had to use a jackhammer to literally brick by brick remove it from his building. And he had concerns because it was his operation of a fitness center. So we worked around his schedule as much as possible. We had as many crews out there at the same time to get it done as quickly as possible. So that was one noise complaint that I was involved in. So there are little bits here and there, but it's mostly industrial. So we have some specialty users that use it for. We have an artist in the area that we're in communication with to make sure we're not doing anything extremely noisy or causing vibration while she's doing fine tuning of her artwork. So there are a few here and there, but for the most part, it's been pretty quiet as far as complaints about the noise.
Good. All right. Commissioner Davis.
Thank you so much for your report, and I appreciate everything that you've done. Wanted to ask you about we had some soil problem. Is that what was unintended?
That I previously mentioned?
Yes.
Yes.
It was a soil problem?
Soil, correct. Lead-contaminated soil.
We wouldn't qualify for brownfield stuff on that kind of
I'm not aware if we would or not, but I would be happy to look into it if it provides additional funding to offset remediation costs that the project would pay for. I'll be happy to look into that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. I don't have another question, Julia. Just a comment on the last slide. When you look at the sheer scale of what will become the new 6th Street Bridge, it dwarfs the others. I mean, it's just significant in the scale compared to the others. When you look at them, it's quite remarkable.
It is, absolutely. It's the longest of the bridges that cross the LA River, and it's obviously going to be a very dramatic new icon for the city.
Really going to be iconic, yeah. It's very exciting. Thank you. Anything further? Then the oral report will be received. Thank you for keeping us updated.
Absolutely.
Is there a second to my motion that we approve the meeting minutes from the meeting of Friday, April 8th, 2016 by Commissioner Rodriguez? Any objection? Without objection, those meeting minutes will be approved. Mr. Campos, have we cleared the desk?
Yes, you have.
You were just waiting for me to forget the meeting minutes, weren't you? A surprise. All right, then in that case, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.